Hello, the purpose of this video is to show the integration between the different Odoo applications in a manufacturing sense. We're going to start in the sales application and show how when we send a quotation to a customer and it's confirmed, it can trigger a manufacturing order. Once that manufacturing order is created, it'll communicate with our inventory application, which identifies if the components we have on hand are available or not. And if they're not, a draft request for quotation can be created in the purchase application, which we can send off to our vendors that we have assigned for those components. We can receive those goods from our vendors into our inventory application, move back to our manufacturing app where we can move through a couple of work centers in order to complete the finished good, which we will then be able to ready for delivery in the inventory app or have customers pick it up, however the business works. Right? Everything that I show you today in Odoo is going to be standard out of the box Odoo. No customizations were required for this. This is just the core functionality of Odoo with set configurations and the correct settings applied to the program. We're going to start out, like I mentioned, in the sales application here and create a new quote. We're going to send a quote to our customer for the torque pump here. You can send this by email, which is going to bring up the email configurator text box. So this is an email template you can set. You can customize this with our dynamic email configurator here. We see the sales order number and the amount is already default out of the box with Odoo. But like I mentioned, you can create different templates to make it easier for your salespeople when they send off quotes. We're just going to send this here. We will see on the right side of the screen an update in the chatter where we can open up what the PDF looks like for the customer. All of this can be customized to suit your needs. We could put a fancy design in here and change this up to our liking. I'm just going to confirm this quote for the sake of the demo. We see a couple smart buttons populate. We can go directly into our delivery order in the inventory application or straight to our manufacturing order. I like to sometimes go to the delivery just to see what else needs to be done. We don't see a product here, right? Because there's operations that need to be completed for this torque pump. So if we go back to the sales order and check in on our manufacturing order, we can identify, all right, here's our torque pump, the components necessary to complete this are our metal pipe and our wheel. We have the wheel in stock, but we do not have the metal pipe, which is why a purchase order has been created. Now I'm going to jump out of the sales application and pretend that I'm the purchasing manager and go into our purchase app. From here, like I mentioned, we have the draft RFQ that's ready to be sent to our vendor. We can open this right up, send it by email again if we wanted to, but again, for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to confirm this order. We see how this is linked to that manufacturing order again, right? We go back to the purchase app, receive our products from here. We could go to the inventory app. We saw that smart button. We could receive them from inventory, but again, for the sake of this demonstration, I'm just doing it that way. I have serial numbers assigned to this, so I can't actually set the quantities yet. I actually have to assign the serial number. So if we were taking in a bunch of components from our vendor, we could set up our system like this, so then we could batch process the serial numbers of the goods that come in. Confirm this and validate that we've received them from our vendor. We also could go back to the purchase order and create a bill from here as well. Now I'm going to go to the manufacturing application and proceed through our work centers to make this complete good for our customer. We see we have one work order to launch. So this is our work in process screen essentially. And from here, we have a bunch of different options. We could open up this drop-down menu. We see if we had a loud noise at a machine or something and resulted if we need to block all operations, we could do that right here. We could scrap or add components from here as well. And we can also have the ability for ad hoc maintenance or quality alerts. I'm going to assign a serial number to this and mark this as done. And now we can proceed to the next work order screen. I can do that either by going back to our overview here, or I could just remove this filter, which will show us our second work center or second operation. Also, I could pause this work center if I want to pause this operation. I want to check on maybe all the items we have in WIP, so we can go back to our work center overview screen, select our operations tabs, and go to work orders. From here, I can see we have this work order for work center number 2, and we can see this is in progress, how long it's been taking already. Let's go back to the overview and continue this operation. So as we saw in the first work center, we just had a text field in this box down here below. This is a PDF. On the next slide, we'll also see, on the next work center, I should say, we could also have the option for a Google slide where we could put in a video or have a lot of other options as well. So you could put in specs here or directions for your employees at the work centers. The options are really limitless with Odoo. I will mark this one as done and proceed to the next work center. Like I mentioned, I could just remove this filter, but for this one, I'll go back to the overview and launch this quality checkpoint at work center number 3. So as I mentioned here, this is a Google slide. We could throw in a YouTube video here. We have a pass-fail option. And there's also a number of other options you can do for quality checks. You could have measurements with specified tolerances. You could have a picture required to be taken for a quality check, but this is just a simple pass-fail, like I mentioned. So we'll pass this. We can validate this, and then we'll have the option to mark this as done and close the manufacturing order. Now I can go to our inventory app. We see we have our delivery order that's ready to be processed for our customer. You can set the quantities on this product and validate them. And now this has been moved from the ready stage to the done stage. We can identify the traceability here, really drill down as to the components that compose our main product here, the finished good, where they came from in stock to production, and how they ended up in our customers' hands. Now quickly, we'll just run back to the manufacturing application to look at a couple of other metrics here. From a reporting standpoint, we could look at this manufacturing order we just completed for our torque pump. We see the different smart buttons that are now all populated on here. We had the purchase order that we had to initiate for the metal pipe component. We could look at the original sales order that triggered this manufacturing order. And we could also look at the traceability level for this manufacturing order as well. We also can identify the product moves, how the products have moved within our inventory. And finally, we can identify the cost analysis to see, like on that screen where we are in the work centers, how time was being captured in the back end. So you can capture time on a material and cost basis using Odoo, just specifying the value from a cost per hour perspective on each of the operations within the work centers. And we have a total cost per unit of $21.50 based on the operations and the materials used. This concludes the demonstration, the sales order through a manufacturing order to create a finished good for our customers. It shows the integration of Odoo and how the different apps communicate with one another in a simple, standard format with no customizations required. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly at secl@odoo.com. Thanks. Have a great rest of your day.